What if we told you that your skin color could determine whether you get a table at a restaurant? These two couples are about to enter the same restaurant, just moments apart. But as our hidden cameras will show, they won't receive the same service. Is it just a coincidence, or is it something much more disturbing? We decided to find out. We've all heard the stories. Maybe you've even lived them. Those moments of service that just feel off. A ridiculously long wait for a table in a half-empty restaurant. A server who seems to look right through you. It's a feeling that's hard to prove and easy for others to write off. A quiet undercurrent of bias that makes you question yourself. But is it really happening? And could we prove it? Studies have long pointed to a pattern of what some call tableside racism. Research shows a startling number of servers admit to changing their service based on a customer's race, which often leads to worse service for Black patrons. This isn't just about hurt feelings, it's about being denied the equal access and dignity everyone deserves. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed to outlaw this exact thing. Yet decades later, the problem persists, often in subtle ways that are hard to pin down. So, we decided to launch an investigation. We wanted to see with our own eyes if race really impacts service in the restaurant world. We put together two teams. Meet David and Michael, a Black couple, and meet Sarah and Tom, a white couple. The instructions were identical. Go to 3 popular restaurants during the dinner rush, ask for a table for 2, and let our cameras document the experience. They dressed similarly and were told to be polite and patient. They arrived just minutes apart. The only real difference between them was their race. What our cameras captured might just change how you see a night out. The casual diner. Our first stop was a popular family-style diner. The kind of place known for being friendly and fast. A place where anyone should feel welcome. David and Michael walked in first at 6:15 p.m. The restaurant was busy. They went to the host stand and asked for a table for 2. Without even looking up from her screen, the host quoted a 20-minute wait and took Michael's name before motioning them toward the crowded waiting area. Exactly 4 minutes later, at 6:19 p.m., Sarah and Tom walked in. They approached the same host. This time she smiled and made eye contact. She told them the wait was about 15 to 20 minutes, took their name, and sent them to the same waiting area. At first, things seemed pretty similar. But then the minutes started crawling by. Our cameras show David and Michael waiting patiently. 10 minutes pass, then 15. At the 20-minute mark, the time they were quoted, Michael politely went back to the host stand to ask for an update. Again, without much of a glance, she said they were still working on it and it would be just a few more minutes. Now, let's check in on Sarah and Tom. 16 minutes into their wait, just as Michael was walking away from the host stand, the host called Tom's name. They were being seated. They had arrived 4 minutes after. David and Michael were now being led to a clean table in the main dining room. David and Michael were left standing there, watching as the other couple was seated. They waited another 10 minutes before the host, this time with a hint of irritation in her voice, finally called Michael's name. Their total wait time was 32 minutes. Sarah and Tom's was just 16 minutes. Double the wait for no reason we could see, other than the one we were there to test. When they were finally seated, it was at a small table right next to the noisy kitchen doors. The service that followed was cold and slow. The mid-range bistro. Was the first restaurant just a fluke? A single, stressed-out host making a mistake? To see if there was a pattern, we needed more tests. Our second location was an upscale bistro, the kind of place known for its professional service. We expected a higher standard for everyone here. This time, Sarah and Tom arrived first at 7:30 p.m. They were greeted warmly by the maitre d', who told them it would be a 30-minute wait. He took their number and said he'd text when the table was ready. 5 minutes later, at 7:35 p.m., David and Michael arrived. They were greeted by the same maitre d'. The welcome was professional, but noticeably cooler. He quoted them a 45-minute wait. A longer wait time, just 5 minutes later. They gave their number and were also told to expect a text. Both couples decided to wait at the bar, and that's where the differences became obvious. A bartender immediately walked over to Sarah and Tom, offered them menus, and took their drink order. They had their drinks in minutes. David and Michael, standing just a few feet away, seemed to be invisible. They stood at the bar, trying to make eye contact. The bartender walked past them 3 times, serving other people who had arrived after them. After nearly 10 minutes of being ignored, Michael finally had to forcefully flag him down just to place an order. The texts to be seated came around the same time. Sarah and Tom waited 28 minutes. David and Michael waited 35. While the time difference for the table wasn't as huge as our first experiment, the quality of the experience was already night and day. The disparity continued at the table. Sarah and Tom's server was attentive, explaining the specials and checking back often. David and Michael's server was distant. He took their order without a word, and they had to flag him down just for a water refill. This lines up with research showing that a common form of discrimination isn't a loud, overt refusal of service, but a quiet, persistent lack of care. It's a subtle bias that makes a customer feel unwelcome and undervalued. The upscale eatery. Our final test was at a high-end restaurant, the kind of place you save for a special occasion. Here, flawless service isn't just a hope, it's part of the price tag. David and Michael, dressed impeccably, arrived at 8 p.m. They walked up to the host stand. The manager, who was running the front of the house, looked them up and down. "Do you have a reservation?" he asked. They said no. He let out a sigh, glanced at his book, and said, "I really don't think we can fit you in. We're booked solid." The restaurant was busy, sure, but several empty, unset tables were in plain sight. Just 3 minutes later, at 8:03 p.m., Sarah and Tom entered. They didn't have a reservation either. They approached the same manager. His entire demeanor changed. He smiled warmly. "No reservation? Let me see what I can do for you. I think I can squeeze you in." He then led them to one of the very same empty tables that David and Michael had pointed out just moments before. This was the most blatant moment of the night. David and Michael were standing just outside, watching the whole thing happen through the window. There was no excuse about a long wait list. This was a direct refusal of service to a black couple, immediately followed by an accommodation for a white couple. It was a textbook example of the discrimination the Civil Rights Act was written to prevent. The analysis. After the 3 tests, we brought our couples together to talk about what happened. Their reactions were a mix of frustration and a sad lack of surprise. Michael: "The worst part is that it's familiar. It's that knot in your stomach, where you know you're being treated differently, but you can't quite prove it. Tonight, though. Tonight it was all on camera. There's no denying it." Sarah: "Hearing their experience is just horrifying. We were in the same places at the same time, and it was like we were in 2 different worlds. We were welcomed, and they were tolerated, or in the last case, just turned away. It's not right." To better understand what we saw, we showed our footage to Dr. Anya Sharma, a sociologist who studies consumer racial bias. What your footage captures is compelling evidence of what people of color have been talking about for decades. It's rarely some cartoon villain shouting a slur. It's the hostess who seats a white couple first. It's the server who's less attentive. It's the manager who decides a black couple doesn't fit the clientele. These are called microaggressions, and they add up to a powerfully discriminatory experience. What you're seeing is implicit bias in action. The staff might not even be consciously aware they're doing it, but they're acting on stereotypes they've absorbed about black customers. This is why real training is so critical. A recent report from Be Inclusive Hospitality found that 1/3 of hospitality workers have either seen or experienced discrimination. This is a systemic issue. Without management taking proactive steps to counteract these biases, they're just going to continue. Your investigation shows this isn't just one employee's problem. It's an industry problem. Our investigation started with one question. Does your race affect the service you get? At 3 different restaurants, at 3 different price points, the answer was a clear and unfortunate yes. From longer waits, to worse service, to being flat-out denied a table, our cameras captured a clear pattern of unequal treatment. This isn't just about a bad night out. It's a snapshot of a much larger issue in our society. It's the quiet, persistent reality of systemic bias that is so often felt, but rarely seen this clearly. If you think this needs to change, share this video. Let's send a message that discrimination has no place on the menu. And if you've had an experience like this, share your story in the comments. Your voice matters. It's time to hold the hospitality industry accountable and demand equal service for everyone, regardless of skin color.